Now we're not getting the styling anymore because we have to adjust it here as well, like so. Reload, and now that's looking better. But still, we need some more spacing. So you'll notice little simple things like this. You could use a background if you want, but sometimes you need to spend a little bit of time with them. In this case, I'm going to add some padding left to the text itself. Once again, we're going to limit this only to the block quotes within that main section. And if we do padding left, and let's do a big number so you can see exactly what's happening. That's pushing the text over, but it's also going to put the quote over. But watch what happens if we get the quote right here and we set the position to absolute and we push it in the top left portion of that area. What you're seeing is it's disappeared, but it hasn't disappeared. It's gone all the way to the top right here. And you've learned about this in our positioning tutorial. That's happening because we have not specified a positioning context, so it's using the body or the window as its context. We can limit this though by always specifying in your block quotes a position of relative. And now can you see, because we specified that, it is now limited to that section and we are able to add that padding. Good, now we're starting to get it. Let's scroll back down, and I think that padding left is too much. Let's reduce it to 30. There we go. And I also want to push it down just a touch. So right here, rather than top, let's do top 5 pixels. And you might want to play around with it just a touch, maybe 7. Okay, so we have the left section right. The right section should be on the last line. Position absolute, bottom 0, and right 0. Now, I would presume it's not going to change, as you can see right here, and that's because it's already in the bottom right spot. So we just need to push it even lower so I can use a negative number, -5 pixels, and that looks a lot better, maybe 7 once again. So what we should do is test this, and test it by adding another quote right here, and if we did everything right, it should still display nicely. Reload, and there you go. You have the beginning quote at the top and the closing quote at the bottom. So it did take some trickery. You could use backgrounds if you want, but I like to use CSS whenever possible. Let's get rid of that, and now we're done with that section. Okay, and we're about ready to get onto this banner. The last thing is I want to make sure everything lines up nicely. And next, we're about to get to styling this banner right up here. But one thing is that you always want to make sure your lines are nice and clean. So we should make sure that the top of these headings, the beginning of the main section, is consistent all the way through. But it's not. Notice how the block quote is just a little taller. And even though that doesn't seem like a big deal, it actually is. So we can adjust this, and what's causing this is either margin or line height. If I hover over it, can you see that the bounding box, there's actually a good bit of spacing above the heading. Now we can see that there is no margin applied. You can go to compute it to double check. No margin applied at all. So that means it's line height. And the line height can add a little bit of spacing. If I were to set that to 1em, which is the default for a heading 2, can you see how it pushed up? And now if we want to double check that we did it right here, that should line up with the top, and can you see it does? So let's fix this. And we're gonna go up to H2 tags and make sure that we specify that the line height should be 1em. And now we've made a subtle change, but that really adds up, I promise you, and everything is lining up nicely. We'll do this side as well, that lines up. Okay, good, so now you have a good working website. We just need to do a little bit more for this lesson. You've stuck around for a really long time, so congratulations. Let's get this banner text done, do a little bit of the footer, and then we're done for today, and you can put up your feet. So let's go back to the Photoshop file, zoom out, and can you see that right now the text is white with a background. So if you ever feel overwhelmed and you think, I don't know the beginning of how to do this, one step at a time. First, we specify the color. So it's telling me right here I don't have that font installed. That's okay. But the color is set to white, and the font size is 28, and he has the letter spacing reduced ever so slightly. So we can do that right now. Let's go back to index.html, and within our banner section at the very top, this is a heading. So why don't we make that an H2? You could also experiment with making these H3 tags. You just want to create the proper hierarchy, and you may need to go back and adjust it later. For now, I'll keep them all at H2s, but then remember, it is going to receive any styling that we've already applied, as you can see right there.